G'day YouTube and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today we're going to be doing a bit of a workshop tour and a bit of an update and a look around the new workshop that I've just moved to. So for those of you who are unaware, I've just moved back to my hometown of Melbourne, and the first shop that I landed in, look, it was good. It had its good aspects of it, but ultimately I did decide to move on, and I don't regret it. So I've landed here. This is the second shop since coming back to Melbourne, and I can see myself staying here for quite some time. It's one hell of a shop. They got one hell of a setup. It's all up to date, modern. May not technically be state of the art because I was actually speaking to the foreman and he reckons that this place was kitted out in 2003. So it's got all low bake prep bays outside. I'll give you guys a look out there later. Even little things like this, which may get overlooked by some, but a vented paint mixing bench. It really does make a massive difference when you're mixing up your clear coats and primers specifically because they've got the hardeners in them. So all of those fumes are going straight up the ventilation rather than straight up your nose. So that's always a good thing. And having a nice clean tiled floor. And the paint system that they're using here is PPG EnviroBase, so that's a new system to me as of moving here, and I actually did find it quite easy to pick up and spray. It did take a little bit honing in those application methods to get it to like the best standards, but to just pick up and spray, really easy. Like I came in on the first day and they gave me like a big job, like down the side, front and rear bumpers. I think it was like bonnet and boot as well. So yeah, quite a big size job to tackle on my first day. And I smashed it all out in that first day. So I was actually pretty proud of myself, to be honest, to be able to do what I did on the first day, because I found that usually when you move into a new shop, it can take a few days to sort of get the hang of where everything is. Like a lot of it is you're fumbling around, you're looking for where the prep style rags are, where do you put the clear coat, which clear coat do I mix up, and all that. So I was actually pretty impressed with myself on a personal level. And that actually takes me back to being challenged. So one of the reasons that I actually did come here is because where I was previously, I wasn't being challenged, and I think you get stagnant and you sort of, if you're not going forwards, you're going backwards. So I think that it's important to challenge yourself, and whether or not it just simply be getting that job done in time, in the time frame, because I don't like doing overtime. My hours are my hours. I don't like doing overtime. I would actually be more likely, more inclined to come in early than to leave late. But yeah, I also felt like at that previous shop that I wasn't contributing to society in a meaningful way. Like, I've got some pretty good skills at spray painting, right? So for me to be spending 3 or 4 hours sometimes polishing one bumper, it just felt like I'm wasting my life. I'd go home and I just feel like I've barely done anything. I've barely contributed to society. Yeah, so that's why I'm here, and I definitely don't regret the move. Look, I'm learning a new system, and that's always good. I'm learning, I'm progressing, and yeah, just challenging myself here and there. And look, for the most part, the people here are pretty friendly, and look, most of them, they just stick to themselves. So, you know, you don't have someone on your back, and that was another thing, like where I was previously. I had, I was being micromanaged, and I was actually speaking to a guy on Instagram today, and I said, oh, you know, good work. He's actually from the Netherlands, I believe, and his name's Dragon. He's on Instagram, so he's pretty big on Instagram. But anyway, he said that he read one of my posts, and that's why he quit his job. He said, after reading your post about the micromanagement, he said it was like reading a story about myself, and he said, you know what, man, you were right, so I quit. So I don't know, it was one of those moments where I've sort of felt like I've had an impact, a positive impact on other people's life, and he said he's much happier after leaving. So yeah, look, I've moved on, and for me at the very start when I worked here, like the first 2 days specifically, I even said to my boss, they come down and they're like, how you doing, man? And I said, dude, I feel like I've just been let out of prison, man. Like, because I don't have someone over my shoulder all the time, you know? Like, if I need someone to help, I'll tell you. Like, I don't need you to come here. Like, I'm a spray painter, right? You employ me to do the spray painting. If you're not happy with my spray painting, tell me. But don't tell me how to spray paint every step of the way. And I actually had an argument with the foreman on the last sort of couple of days. about, he would say, oh, you can do it however you like. And I would say, but you tell me I can do it however I like, but then you're telling me how to do it every step of the way, you know? And he's like, oh, no. So anyway, look, I'm glad I left. And this is one of the examples. And this happened like on probably the 3rd or 4th day of me being there. Like, I'm 21 years in the trade. I know what I'm doing. I'm not an apprentice or anything like that. So there's certain things that you're gonna stand up for yourself with, right? So there was a bumper. And when I get a dirty original bumper off a car, I'll always take it out the back, and I do that here too. I'll take a dirty bumper with dirt and stuff all over it out the back. I'll get the high pressure cleaner and some degrease it, clean it down, and then I will do my prep work. And he was arguing like straight up like I'm not allowed to do that, and I'm like, dude, like I'm doing it this way, you know, like I'm not gonna be told how to prep a bumper up. Like I've been doing it for long enough. And like my argument is like, if you want me to, he wants me to clean it after, not before. And that just doesn't really make sense to me, because you've got dirt that you're trying to sand off, and he's like, oh, just get a rag. And I'm like, dude, just let me do it my way, you know? And my argument would be like, if you want me to clean it after as well, I'll do that too. But you're not gonna sit there and tell me that I'm not allowed to clean a bumper before I'm prepping it up. So, and that's just one little example, and they would do that the whole process, the whole way through the process of spray painting. But all that aside, this video is meant to be about this shop, not my last shop. Sorry, I got ranting. I'm pretty well known for a bit of a rant. The main thing about learning a new paint system, for me anyway, specifically PPG, the main thing was learning the computer side of it. Like when I need wet on wet primer, or what you guys in the US call sealer, when I need sealer, I know that I need sealer or wet on wet. You know, I just need to find where it is kept on the computer. And you know, when I need clear coat, I know that I need clear. I've just got to find out which clear I'm using and where to mix it up on the computer. And with the colors, like at the start, I did sort of struggle a little bit. So with the Standox and Axalta systems, they've got their Spectro. So this is the Spectro, similar type of a tool than what Standox use. But with Standox, you will take your photos, so that takes photos of the color, you plug it up to your computer, it will scan the database for the best match. But with Standox, it will actually shade it for you. So I found with Standox, you've got yourself a 95% plus color, something that's usually at the very least blendable, because they shade it for you. Whereas this system here, it took me like a week or two to figure out why they weren't quite as good, because it doesn't do any shading. So it will look for the best formula, but it won't actually adjust that formula. So like, it may know that it's not perfect, but it won't change that formula for it. So let's just say your color is darker. The Standox system will add some black or subtract some white, whereas this one won't do that. So what I've found, the best way to work with this system is look for your color chips so that you can do your adjusting. So I would choose, like, so it ranks the colors from top to bottom. If there's a color chip on number 7, I would choose that over a color that is number 1 without a color chip. Because what I want to do, I want to physically see how good that color is. So I can look, and I'll look at number 7, I've got a color card, I'll say, okay, that's not too bad. It's a little bit too red, so I'll subtract some red out, I'll add whatever I need, and then I'll sort of take it from there. So that's, you know, as I say, one of the things that it just takes a little bit of getting used to a new system. I'm not saying this is better or worse. At the end of the day, it's just adjusting to a new system and the best way to use it. And yeah, in saying that, that's not to say that I'm right or you're wrong. If you do it differently, that's fine. Like, I mean, I've had some people tell me that they just Spectro, go for the first, and he reckons he's been doing this for the last 2 years with this system. He's just been using the Spectro, going for the first hit and never adjust it. Now, personally, if I had have done that, I would have had to have repainted a couple of jobs. So I've found, yeah, when I Spectro, I do need to adjust it. I always do check my color. But yeah, as far as the application goes, it's pretty much relatively similar to solvent. It's just your 3 coats. So you put your coat down, put your first coat down. I find putting the first coat down nice and wet to get coverage works really well for me. And then on the second coat, I'll wind the fluid in half a turn and drop the pressure by 5 psi, and on the third coat, same thing. Wind the fluid in half a turn, drop the pressure by 5 psi, and then that sort of makes those metallics lay down nicely. I will go further into detail and do like an application video on those silvers in the future. And another little thing that I do actually appreciate is little things like this, you know, having the PPS system. And they've got 2 computers, because there's 3 of us painters and 2 apprentices, so there does sometimes come a time when 2 of us will need to be mixing something up. So yeah, having the full PPS2 system is just great. And then for those of us who have the SATA jets, they've actually got the SATA RPS cups down here too. So it's really good. And look, they're not tight asses, you know, like on my first week, they said, oh, do you need anything? And I'm like, yeah, man, do you reckon you could get some of these 3M 1000 grit pads? And they said, yeah, no dramas. So yeah, within reason, it's never a big issue. If you need to get something in just because you like to do your job a certain way, they're very accommodating. And even on my very first day, they actually, I'll give you guys a look at it when we go around the workshop, but they actually gave me my own trolley. Like on my very first day, I just landed here. I'm like, oh, I'll get my own. I've actually got one at home. They're like, no, don't worry. They went out, they sent the apprentice out, got 2 workshop trolleys, and there you go. You got a brand new workshop trolley. So this is actually my area here. I've got this entire area, so a nice amount of room. That's my respirator and a few other ancillary products that I keep down there. I like to keep my bench pretty nice and clean, as you can see there, and just all my spray guns up here. I'm pretty DeVilbiss friendly, as you can see. Those couple of Segolas do get a bit of use. We've actually got to get a DV1S review up soon. I'll be working on that one very soon. And yeah, and this is our gun cleaning machine down here. I mean, it's probably not one of the best ones I've ever used, but it does the job. It gets the guns nice and clean. Yeah, definitely does the job. But apart from that, I've actually really been enjoying using the PPG Enviro base. It is definitely one of the better systems I've used over the years. Whilst the colors aren't always perfect, they're never that far away. And look, most of the time you will have a color chip. So for most of the time, on your average everyday, the popular cars, you know, like your Mazdas, your Toyotas, all those kind of things, there will be a color chip for most of them. If there ever isn't, it's not that big of a deal. Like sometimes I'll do like a test day. If I don't ever have a color chip, I'll do the Spectra, then I'll mix up 150 mils, I'll spray it out, and then I know exactly where I'm at. Then I'll go mix up the bigger batch, and then I can adjust the formula myself. But apart from that, like the clear coats, the primers are really good. I have found that it does take a little bit longer. Like that was one of the first things that I did notice when I moved there, was that it is a bit slower, like not heaps, a little bit slower than the Standox and the Chromax Pro. So yeah, the Speed's High Tech, all the Axalta systems, because you do like a standard 3-coat system. And those of you who are regulars to the channel will know that the Stando Blue is just like a 1.5 coat, 1 visit, rather than this being like your 3 visits. So yeah, like especially on the bigger jobs where you're doing inside and out of doors, like when you're running around and you've got to put those 3 coats, it can take quite a bit more. Even just physical application time can take a bit longer, but then also your flash off, because you have to let each coat dry in between each coat. But look, I'm at the point now where I'm pretty much used to it, and it doesn't feel slow. So yeah, as I say, like at the start it sort of felt like it was taking a bit longer, but yeah, like it's actually kind of the middle of winter here in Melbourne, so pretty freezing. I can imagine it's only going to speed up in summer. I've been using the 136 clear coat, which is a very nice and thick clear, so it's a low VOC clear. They've got another one called 105. Let's go outside and I'll give you guys a look around. The booths are really nice and big, so what I'm going to do this time is I'll do a voiceover when we're out in the workshop, because they've got the radio running, so I don't want that as the background noise. So yeah, let's go. So here we are with a look at the rest of the workshop. As you can see here, we're starting off with the 2 generously sized spray booths. So they're a bit longer and a little bit wider than most of the spray booths that I've used, which is actually quite handy, because it seems that we get quite a lot of big sized jobs at this shop here. And this thing here is a color card drying lamp, so that's handy to have when you're doing spray outs to check your colors. And this area here is a extraction fan. So that's for doing your spray outs in, and that way all of the overspray just goes up the fan. You can also do some back pressuring when you're cleaning your guns out. I actually did get that cleaned up. That was a bit of a mess when I first started there. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned in quite some time, so there was some fibers up on the side. So I just gave it a quick tidy up, and it's one of those things I'm going to be getting the apprentices to keep that clean. But continuing on with the rest of the shop, on your right hand side here, this is all the assembly bays. So remove and refit gets done there. And this side here on the left hand side, that's all the paint preparation and primer areas. So quite handy to have those in-floor ventilation systems. So when we're priming out here in the workshop, there's a bank of filters inside that back wall there, and you can actually prime, and all the primer will go down those vents in the floor here and then get caught by the filters. So we're actually allowed to, by law, prime in the workshop because we do have those in-floor ventilation systems. So it's quite handy to have. And this is just a very quick look at my trolley. This is the best kitted out trolley I've ever had. I will actually do a separate video on my current trolley setup. But for now, we'll just continue having a look at the rest of the shop. So as you may notice, we do have quite a good mixture of cars. So not only prestige, but we also get some older cars in, which is actually kind of handy to have when you've got a couple of apprentices. So we do have 2 apprentices at this workshop, and it can be good to have some of the older cars to get them to learn on, because they don't have to be perfect. So we've got the good infrared curing lights, as you can see there, and a nice large area for us to do our prep work. We have gone and got a little bit quieter at the moment. Maybe they were just a little bit inundated when I first started. They might have been just a touch behind in the paint shop, but after a few weeks of gunny band there, we've gone and caught up for the most part. So continuing on with the tour, this is the panel shop. So to be honest, I really don't spend much time in here. It's just when I'm walking through, but they've got everything you would need. So you can see there, they've got the car bench there. That's for doing the straightening of front panels and chassis and all of that kind of stuff. And as you have a look around here, they've got hoists, then they've got their flat racks, MIG welders, spot welders, and all of the stuff that you would expect in any other panel shop. So I do actually like having a separate panel shop to paint shop so that we're not too close to the panel beaters doing all their bog dust and creating all that dust when we might be trying to do primer work, or we may even be doing like spraying an engine bay out in the workshop, which is something we can do at this shop because we do have the correct ventilation. But then if you've got, say, a panel beater right next to you trying to sand some bog, you're going to be getting dust all through it. But moving along, you can see the last thing here is the detailing bay. So again, it's better than where most panel shops wash their cars. It's definitely better than the last panel shop I was at. That would be washing cars in the sunlight on one of those stinking hot Perth summer's days. So yeah, they've got the non-slip floor down there. Continuing on, this is a quick look at the inside of the spray booth. So this is one of the jobs that I did. It was like down the entire side and the front. And as you can see, there was lots of room for me to paint the parts off the car, some on the car obviously, but then have a nice amount of room to move around those panels and not be at risk of bumping into things, and also not being too close to the walls because you can end up getting some dust on your panels if you're too close to the walls sometimes. And we'll finish this video off here with a quick look at a respray that I did recently. So this is a Mazda CX-5 in Soul Red Crystal, which is a 3-stage. I've actually got all the footage of me spraying this, so I'll have to edit that up and get a separate video done for that. We'll do a application guide and a respray on the Soul Red Crystal candy color. So that'll be coming up in the future. Be sure to check that out. But as you can see there, I got the entire body of the car with all of the doors off the car in the booth with no dramas at all. So yeah, lots of room to get around the panels and the body as well. So yeah, little things like those safety steps on the floor, they were just ordered in recently, and there's no questions about it. Like if you need something, you just tell the foreman or the boss and they're like, yep, no dramas, they'll just get it in for you. So they're quite reasonable and quite accommodating people at this new workshop. As I say, most people do stick to themselves, but look, that's a good thing. I've said for quite some time now that the work is the easy part of work. As you can see here, this is the candy respray. This is about as hard as they get. but it's really not even that hard for me to get nice results on a candy respray. So for me, it's the people that make work hard for me. It's not really the work itself. It's when somebody, for whatever reason, takes a disliking to you and they just want to make your life hard for some stupid reason. And that's the great thing about this shop, is most people just stick to themselves, they do their job and they go home, and that is all I could ever ask for. So it's looking like we're going to be having some new Gunman merchandise made up soon, some really high quality stuff, so be sure to keep an eye out. But until then, we do still have spray suits in stock, so be sure to go and grab one of them. Thanks for watching and stay tuned, we'll be spraying some PPG and Virobase in the coming videos. I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone for watching, and if you'd like to support the channel further, you're more than welcome to go over and check out some of the merchandise we've got. My personal favourite is those spray suits, so they're a good quality Colad branded spray suit with the Gunman logo on it. There's also hats, drink coolers, hoodies and t-shirts, so be sure to go over and check out the link in the description if you are interested.